you don't usually like synergize well with Spectre. The way that hero plays is counterintuitive.
No, I don't think it's a Spectre game.
No, it could be the
They've not
Jug.
played a lot of Beastmaster or Queen of Pain Viking. They've played them one time so far each this patch. They're going a little off piste.
I mean, that's interesting, right? Because that was where they began. Because you had like Boom kind of innovated the quad builds with the blade mail rushes. Then that got nerfed. Also, Beastmaster to me was like an incredibly staple pick for Toby in the early days of Viking. Like,
yeah, that's true.
They were like, they had to be top 3 teams for like most picks.
Must have lost confidence in it.
I think
They've
it's
had a little
also
bit
the
of a
hero's
break.
weaker. Like
it feels a lot weaker, yeah, and I think Queen of Pain also feels a lot weaker than it was.
Yeah, Queen of Pain especially. Like the moment they stripped blade mail of, I believe it's the int they took away, suddenly it feels pretty lackluster on a lot of heroes.
Mm-hmm. So are we expecting this Tiny to be a 4? Void to be mid?
I think so. You still have flexibility. Like BCZ could play the Void Sprint. I believe he has done so recently. But Tiny to me just feels so good in the 4 role right now. Like it's just his new humbled home compared to the other roles, I think.
What did they need then? They need an offlaner. But what sort of offlaner?
So right now they don't really have any aura builders. That could be potential like call for concern for your sustain factor, but maybe they're not that worried about it because the AA blast negates their opponent's ability to sustain in fights. Still, I would like a hero that can build like Pipe, for example, against the Quap and potentially another magical hero.
Banning Slark.
Their catch is decent on Team Unique. I don't think they lack catch. I just think maybe having a good frontliner that can push towers would be a good way to go. Something like possibly an Underlord.
I think Underlord's a really good pick for them.
Yeah, Viking thought so too. It's the final ban on their side in the last phase.
I think they're going to ban, Omni is an interesting one. I think that's a good... I mean, Omni is somewhat weak. I don't mind Necro for Team Unique. They've picked that up quite a lot. Slardar they pick up quite a lot, but
you could
which is good against the IO.
So the counter argument is like they don't have crap tons of magical damage, mostly Quap, but Clockwork could go for a Spirit Vessel. I don't know about Legion, possibly. That also gives them the press the attack to debuff the Beastmaster.
Yeah. What, on Viking is their position 1?
Unique. Oh, they go to Timber. Okay.
Timber. Okay.
I mean, yeah, there's multiple strength heroes. It's not bad. You know you're likely to get a decent lane matchup as long as this isn't a mid-Timber. But now Viking, what do they lack? I mean, they need the hard right-click that comes through. The Juggernaut feels a bit rough.
I was going to say the Jug. It feels rough, but they like it.
Yeah, you can kind of survive, right? But I think like the healing ward factor is going to be removed by AA as well.
A little bit, but not exclusively. Like, it's not always going to be removed.
Yeah. I don't know if you really want to pick Luna against Timber because you're basically a melee hero.
Like Luna.
I'm trying to think what else they've been picking a lot of right now.
The Jug magic immunity works really well here.
I really hope they don't pick Gyro.
I don't think it's a Gyro game.
No, but there's like the worry is like when certain things have been banned out and you have an eye at the beginning of your draft, you do get to the end and like it's just always been the historical duo, right? It's Gyro Io. And teams have been known to trip themselves up. Even teams
just
like Viking and High. Yeah, because it's it's still in.
It's what we always do. It's gotta work.
It's the classic, man. It's gotta work.
It's El Clasico.
Yeah, I don't think Gyro's gonna be come back anytime soon. Maybe I thought about like maybe him in a utility role. So either support or offlane. There's some experimentation, but it's like a hard carry. It's rough. Okay.
Ursa.
I don't know why I didn't think of that actually, because I think Viking are one of the teams that does this more often. And you are up against the Timber, so you can make his life a living hell.
It's the first time doing it this patch.
That makes sense.
So
Ursa's kind of
it's a little
petered off.
It's a little new for them. It has petered off. He's got the lovely little skin there.
I know I'm jealous. I can't watch this game anymore. I didn't get that treasure. I tried so hard. By trying so hard,
really hard.
I opened all of these treasures. Because I love Ursa.
You're a trier.
That is the most adorable piece of gear he has ever had.
It is adorable, isn't he? Is Ursa a man or a woman? I thought Ursa was a woman.
I don't know. I thought that's a good question actually. I could have sworn Ursa was.
I can't remember.
A bloke.
I suppose it's a man. He's got a man's voice. But, you know, bears might have the same voices across men and women.
That's true. Like, how are we to judge them? Well, here's the thing: on the Wikipedia's, it says he.
Fair
So
enough then. Well, that's Wikipedia
I
have declared it, so it must be true.
there we go. I mean, Wikipedia's are never wrong. The 21st century. You remember I don't know if you had this when I was like younger. When I was in high school, a long time ago. And I remember in the first like 2 years, whenever you be in like IT, they tell you not to use Wikipedia as a valid reference for anything you do. And then by like the last 2 years, they were like, yeah, just Wikipedia it. It changed
I'm a little older
so
for you. It
quickly.
never changed.
Oh, no,
When I
they
was in
always hated that, huh?
university, you were allowed to. You're not allowed to use it as a source, but they recommended it as a. It's a little bit of a kind of a starting point, I think, for Wikipedia.
Oh, they still want their books back then. Yeah, like grow up, people. All right, books, they're dead. We just talked about a paper. People don't want anymore. Who wants to read books? You know what? Last thing I can recall reading is subtitles. Exactly.
I print out Wikipedia and bind it in a big book, which I carry with me everywhere.
Oh yes, I see you're preparing for the post-apocalyptic world.
We're in a kicks there from that Beastmaster.
Yeah,
He's got the Viking skin as well.
Footwork. It's like it's all. I mean, I like that he's role playing.
He is role playing.
What other heroes can? So you could have Clinks because Clinks has the whole undead Viking thing.
Yeah.
What other heroes have the Viking type sets?
Sven's a bit Viking-esque.
You can be. Personally, I ruin it because I have the double shield. It looks so dumb.
It does look dumb. All my hero skins, I'm not really capable of doing things that I don't find amusing. Like I'm not capable of being sincerely serious. So all my skins are chosen to look as stupid as possible.
I can summarize my skin game by the fact that Tiny has that skin that has the giant like red kind of scepter thing for his tree he picks up. May have decided to rename that my tiny dildo. And that
Always
sums
good.
up my skin game entirely.
Well done. We're all very proud of you.
Thank you. I was willing to pay extra money just to be able to name it that on the off chance that someone will eventually see it without me having to like push my tiny dildo in their face.
Do you think if someone saw it and mentioned it, you'd be pleased or embarrassed?
I'd take pleasure in it. You know,
You'd take pleasure.
if you can't
You'd take pleasure from the dildo.
Exactly. If you can't take pleasure in a good tiny dildo, what's the point?
What is the point in life?
We'll have to see if you can take any pleasure in this game though. Like, I think that draft this game is stronger than the last.
It does feel stronger, yeah.
And not just because there's a Sven in it, and he does look very strong. But Vikings draft is less about sustain this time and more about insta pick-off. Which, when you say that, if you look at the opponent, like, does Unique have any sort of save? I guess Tiny could link in and toss someone out, but that's literally it. That's why I like the idea of the Legion commanders if Farm picks them. Like, I get why they went for the Timber, because it is a pretty decent Timber game. Until the Ursa comes out, of course. But, like, if this Timber doesn't pop off at the start, he's just going to be a walking corpse. And
He's
look
gonna
at Shadow
struggle.
right now. He's like, where you going, bro? I don't need early CS if you don't get it. Have you ever heard
Jesus
of
Christ.
support Ursa? Because this is almost the build.
I mean, at the moment, it's kind of nothing Ursa. It's vengeful Ursa. This is pure spite.
I mean, he's just weighing it up, right? He's like, man, clockwork with some gold and some XP. Like, I mean, Tiny's scared if he gets a quick blink, but we're only talking like level 2 or 3. Actually, in fairness, if they get a quick 3 on clockwork, they can really easily kill people.
They can. He's coming back down. He's working his way down. He's moseying on down to the bottom lane.
No, he's not.
Well, he's moseying back. It's a mosey. A mosey doesn't
Yeah.
have to be singly directional.
You know what it is? It's a fun stroll. Oopsie, I just forgot something.
Yeah. He's taking the scenic route.
I just remembered that the overlay was slightly wrong because of the size of my mini map. Okay, hear me out, COs. How about you all just sit down in a room, like very official conference, and decide if you want extra large mini maps or not? Because I swear
be
it
like-
changes every tournament I cast.
Like, they'll all sit in a big room. It'll be like Yolta, but for TO.
Oh, celery. Look at this rotation. What a great rotation from the POS 4 Timbersaw.
Perfect.
But the only problem here is who's going bot? Because Ursa is awaying his opponent.
I don't know. Ursa's just he's back down. He's got a little bit of experience.
I
getting
know what
his
this
way.
is. This is a unique innovation. We're just going to stay toppers free and kill. Sadly not ugly this time, but like it's smart, right? Because you think about Beastmaster, the annoying thing is he gets like all his CS, he bullies at the start, and then he pushes tower, right? But if you just sit your whole team in his lane, how does he do that?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't, but I think he'd probably argue he's getting what he wants. That feels good as an offlaner if everyone is hanging out trying to stop you.
You make offlaners sound so masochist, like complete masochists. Like, oh yeah, hit
They
me,
are.
daddy. Just please. I mean, Timbersaw definitely is, right? He's legitimately got a skill that allows him to say hit me all the time.
Offlaners are like those kids in school who see negative attention as good as positive attention. Like, they're happy to annoy the teachers, annoy the other kids, because as long as someone's paying attention to them, they're happy.
I mean, here's the problem. You just basically said offlaners are assholes.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. They're not arseholes. They're just, they're kind of guys who are just happy to be noticed.
They're not assholes, they're refined holes. There you go.
Yeah.
Holes
They're
that the
they're
enemy
the
team
hole
is
of
just
sorts.
dunking all the trash into in forms of harassment. We made it work.
Oh,
Lornoff is
going
making
in on-
this mid lane work to a point. He needs to get the hell out. And this is what I was talking about Aramis getting that quick level 3.
That always feels bad going through the cogs. Perfect rotation there.
I mean, this is the power of like a Clockwork game free. Like Clockwork level 1, 2 is It's like, if I said level 2 Clockwork to you, you wouldn't be like, "Ooh, crap, I better get it back." You'd be like, it'll hurt a bit. But I say level 3 Clockwork to you, and you're like, oh no, head for the tree lines, boys. We need to get out of here quick.
What about if you said level 4 clockwork to me? Do you think it'd be much the same? Does it change as its levels go up? Like level 16 clockwork, are you saying something different?
I'm saying, why is Power Cog's hit to kill still terrible to take as a talent? Obviously, that was one level ago, but I still watched you do it.
Yeah.
Aramis. I tried to yoink the rune, and it was unsuccessful. Vanskoll will be able to get away as well for the moment. However, Aramis so speedy, so quick, and he gives him the kill.
And they got the courier as well.
And they're going to get the other rune, because 19 Teen has no mana. This is what we call a whoopsie daisy moment.
He's 20 now, 19 teen. Do you think he's going to keep his name as 19 teen as he
I've
ages?
been wondering this the whole time, because like 20 teen.
20 adult.
20 adult, 20 responsible. Like, what are the other names here? Like I don't think he's been playing that long either. Right? So like, do you think he just changes his name every year, moves on to a new game?
Yeah, presumably he used to be 18 teen. This is his first year on a professional team, isn't it? So last year he was 18 teen. And
now he's a live teen. Illusion's not so lucky.
Yeah, he's.
Hey, look, it's almost like the Clockwork that got a lot of space early on is really now making sure his opponents get no space. What a fun hero. I always love watching Clock. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I find, not just my pub games, because, we shouldn't just talk about pub games. Some people don't like that.
I hate it.
They absolutely raises them. But in professional pub games, as in, we're talking like top 10 MMR players, I feel like Clockwork usually can look underwhelming. It feels like a hero that works really well in a team setting, but feels very awkward in a pub game setting, in a disorganized setting.
Well, it fits in really well with what Viking like to do. They are, as we mentioned before, organized. I think as they like a lot of teams, I think, who build these more team-based strategies rather than strategies that rely on individual skill, like the Clockwork, because he works so well with so many different heroes. occasionally you'll get a position 4 Clockwork who kind of just goes off and does his own thing, like and wins a game by himself. But usually the Clockwork is enabling other people far more than other heroes might.
I think also what's interesting with Viking is they don't necessarily compartmentalize the heroes in the draft, right? Like you think about, for example, last game, and I went, oh, this Faceless Void, like, what's his combo? If they just had a Jakiro, right? That's kind of a compartmentalization. You create one combo from 2 heroes. Whereas they tend to, like, do a very good job of ending up with 5 heroes that almost always synergize in unison.
Yeah, I mean, that's what an OG draft is. Like, an OG draft...
Looks weird, but everything works.
Everything kind of feeds into every other element of the draft perfectly. And I think Viking are beginning to learn to do that a little bit.
Yeah,
which is tough because not many people can do it.
Well, let's just say you have those games, right, where like we'll be analyzing that and we'll look and we'll go, well, that's kind of weird because they don't have this big combo. But like Dora has for quite a while now been moving away from the idea of wombo combos because they're too unreliable. Like even I'm just gonna say that and people are like, oh, well, what if you take this spell and this spell where you can easily hit it? It's like that's not the point. Why they're unreliable is that the moment you use them, you have to then do something. You have to get an advantage out of it. The kill usually isn't enough. Speaking of kills, Toby going to be brought low, is able to walk away, and look who's here to save the day. Aramis with the Sonic Wave follow-up from Boom, and boom goes the 2 heroes on the side unique. Make that free as Vanscore gets found by the side as a bonus.
Does not feel good. And that's a good rotation, but again, that's the Clockwork. He's level 6 now.
Yeah, it's I think this hero is so pivotal if it gets that early space. Like the reason usually you have these games where you look and go, Clockwork's doing kind of okay, is because he's sharing a lane and then he's moving away from the lane. Like a lot of priority now is given to allowing Free to get solo XP. It's also why like some teams still like to run the POS free Clockwork. I think mainly CIS teams in my opinion. Oh, Shad. They dove him, and they may regret this quickly. They'll move away. They made the bear angry, and now the hook shot through into Lorinov will ensure that the anger is returned in peace, as they'll just run him down and clap him into the ground.
Perfect. You might want to put on... Oh, you've done it now. Wonderful.
Yes, don't worry. I got it.
You're miles ahead of me.
Let me guess. I'm going to guess it was a complaint about CS.
Yeah, they wanted that on there. They didn't want to see the top left of the screen. That's a useless bit of screen real estate.
I mean, to me, it's like, it's the guess game, right? Because then I could like whip it up there. It's like, what do we think everyone's at? And isn't it fun that way when you keep things like a mystery? We're talking about relationships, earlier, like with your boots. But wouldn't it be terrible? Like honestly, think about when you first played Dota and you didn't know what each of the boots done. And that was probably when you were still building multiple boots.
Yeah.
And how fun it was to discover the ways that you could benefit from Tranquils. Or like when you Pudge, right? Think when Pudge used to be able to just Tranquil run people down with Rotten.
It's all about the journey, isn't it? These millennials these days, and especially these Gen Zs, they want everything for free. They don't want to have to work for it. But people from my generation are slightly older millennials.
Are you suggesting that Dota is not a free content game?
It's a game where you got to work. You got to earn your stats.
They're earning more kills, and they're going to earn another on the primary.
Viking GG are doing up here.
Oh man, they're flexing hard for it. Now the reload in. I can say who else wants to play? Lorinov trying to go in for the kill on the Celery. He could die for this if not careful. The Celery will go down the final astral step. The haste room will get the Void Spirit away. But BCZ is also able to just about get away. Boom. Wasn't ready to rock that Sonic Wave yet.
This Timber really needed to pop off, and he's not done it.
No, it's been pretty lackluster.
That's what the Toby was being happy about. Like, Toby was happy that so many people there were around the Timbersaw, because the Timbersaw's only level 7. Shad, who spent half the game wandering around middle, is already level 8.
This is true. And like, this is kind of what happens when you don't get a Timber off to a good start in his lane. Unless you've got this cheesy, I counter all the enemy heroes because they're 5 melee strength, which never happens in Pro Dota these days. You're not gonna really feel an impact. And this is a hero that has to actually excel. Like, I can't think of many games where I said Timbersaw will play really well from behind.
Yeah, Timbersaw, he does not like to be behind.
What a great comeback here. I mean, you can just build, a few items, and he's a hyper late game. No. Which is sad,
Timbersaw
actually,
peaks in high school.
He does. You could say that once he's past his teens and into his 20s, not good anymore.
He's
19 teen, however,
he's not a
will
late
have to
bloomer.
be, yeah. But 19 teen will have to be good past his teens. So far, he's trailing behind Shad, who is building a Battle Fury. He's going to become the Sven himself.
Going for Echo. Sven's going for Echo, BKB, then the Axe. Midas first. They're really relying on this Sven. I don't know if I believe in the Sven, though, here.
It's a bit
Do you?
wonky, right? Because you need reliable cat.
And they've got Raw to lock him down after he charges in. They've
And
got
you have no
a
dispel.
lot of escape.
Also, consider this. You need setup, right? You need someone who, like, controls the fight for you. And if you look at Unique, that's going to be, what, Tiny? Tiny with 5 deaths already, but I'm not sure he's going to get a blink quickly. I'm not sure he's going to be able to deliver that to you. Let's see if I can deliver something. I don't know if Aramis is the one you want, because you can just hook shot away. And he's trying.
Well, they're going to get
They
him.
stop him. Yep. A waste a bit of time, but they do inevitably get
He
the
doesn't
kill.
mind. He's happy with that.
Yeah, it's
Queen
also
of Pain
offsets
farming.
Lauren off for a long time, because now he has no Astral Steps. And you remember, I mentioned this, like, the previous game. This hero has, like, a weird window between, I want to say, like, level 8 and 12. Where it's not that you can't do things, but anything you do feels really expensive. And your mobility feels pretty lackluster. Because you get such a big increase in range on level 2 Astral Step.
Yeah. I think he's... I'm not a big Void Spirit player, if I'm honest.
I must confess, I do have a tendency to spam it.
It's something that always looks like it feels a lot better as you're getting kind of a little past this point around level 11. I think you start to pop off, don't you?
Yeah, and that's kind of the key, is like XP is king. Obviously, this hero uses gold really well. Things like Ags and heals are amazing. But I guess the way I'd refer to him is he's kind of like, he's like a caster Monkey King. Right? Is this hero that needs a lot of XP, but if he gets it, like if he's put in that position, he can snowball and control the map really well, and he just kind of goes from fight to fight. And also they both can split push pretty
That's a
ideally.
lot of damage.
But yeah, it's all about that. I think that's why also Void Spirit as a 3 or 4 is kind of fallen off pretty hard. Is something I've noticed is whenever you play as a 2, you have the ability to dominate the game, to dictate the pace. If you play as a 3 or 4, while you can make some kills happen here or there, you never feel like you're kind of setting the pace the game's being played at.
No. It does feel bad. I would
That
never
was,
play it as a
folks.
3.
Build minus on your 4, on your 4 Void Spirit, and you'll have the XP.
I love how aggressive the Ursa's playing.
He can, though.
He
Like,
really feels safe with this Aya behind him.
do you not remember the old Team Secret roster where it was like Kuro playing Ursa and they had Ursa Io? And there was the raid boss down video. I think that's where like the meme came from in Dota, was that game where he just kept diving and diving. And like this combo hasn't really changed at its core. It's just unbelievably hard to trade unless you get rid of the Io first, which they will do so.
Which they're going to do. That
That's
was
a
a
cheeky
good...
attempt.
It's a nice move by the Tiny. He's getting actually pretty close to his brink. He's only 400 gold away.
Yeah, and they might
And that
actually be able
does
to
make a
this
big
work
difference.
if they don't lose Lauren off like this. It's easy pick off with the Orca complete, and also your Void Spirit still does not have his Yules yet, so that could happen again. As Vanscore is going to find out, death is not fun. He's going to have the one, though. He might just about survive this. Crank will kick in. But that is a tier 1 gone, and this is just what you want to do when you got this Beastmaster. Just push, 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 push. Unlike this man who wants to cut, 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 cut. He might be okay, actually. Without the Sonic Wave,
I think they're going to
they
be
kill him.
fine here. They don't have their ults.
I'm more scared about how quickly Aramis is going to get Spirit Vessel. He's making
Getting it very
decent.
soon.
Yeah, he's actually like pacing towards it pretty quick. The only issue is the clockwork is you don't farm well.
No, you don't.
You rely on
you fa-
kills.
But it's not... I mean, he does want the Spirit Vessel, but I think the Timber's now... Well, the Timber's catching up, but the Timber's not really a major problem for them. It's stopping them from pushing the mid tower, which they would like that mid tower.
Yeah, that is a critical objective. Like, you need to close this map so that you have this Ursa that's always able to farm and the Sven that is unable to. But right now, like, this is always the awkward issue. Is like, if you let Timber get stacks, it's going to be hard. And Toby's just gone instantly. Illusion, with the blink reveal, gets max values. They'll be able to close out this tier 1 tower. You can see the fragility that still exists in Vikings lineup.
They have so much burst.
And that's always, like, the worry, right? Like, if your opponents have burst and you're then thinking something like IO, like, you've already began to invest in this sustain strategy. And the AA coming out, that's probably why they didn't go for the Phoenix. They would have probably loved to have a Phoenix game again. But as soon as the AA arrives, like, you need to kind of rejig your plan as Viking.
That's why they're building this Ursa big. I think with the BKB, they can start to go a little bit more. But until then, this Ursa's just going to get burst down.
It's interesting to tune the BKB over maybe like status resistance. I guess they have a lot of magic damage. They have a lot of stun consistency coming out of Unique, so that's his concern. It's just obviously against AA Blast, status resistance is very good, and will allow the IO to save you afterwards. Boom. Well, I don't know about Boom. He's about to go for a splat though. And that's a Primal Roar. Not really for much, because Lorinoff can just run away.
Because he's just going to get away.
Well, they'll be able to get
this Tiny. Ah, beautiful.
But that is the reload play.
Yeah. You don't feel terrible one tiny kill, but a tiny kill for your mid is not exactly brilliant bit of trade work trading.
No, that's definitely not the trade that Boom's going to be okay with, especially now that Toby's going to die the same way. They just don't need Nice Blast this time. You just take the big blue thing and replace it with a golden thing thrown out by Sven.
This Sven is getting bigger.
God Strength is really spooky once you get to level 2. Like, this doesn't seem like much in the grand scheme. Like, but yeah, level 1 gives 110% extra damage. Like, that 160 kind of takes you into the 2 or 3 tap territory. And that's usually when you have your Echo Saber complete as well.
I wonder what Viking are going to do about this. It feels like they're pretty split up because they've got the one very mobile core in their mid who can blink around, and then Beastmaster who kind of likes to be by himself and pushing a bit, but Unique are just picking off those heroes immediately as soon as they see any of them on the map.
Yeah,
which
and that's
is
what I love
worrying.
about Unique. Like, they're doing it again. They're smoked up and they're moving. They understand that, like, the way that this lineup doesn't work for Viking is if there's always just constant pressure. Because as you mentioned, right, the Beastmaster, like, he doesn't have mobility. He just needs to get to a lane and push. That's what he does. And instead, they might lose Boom here. He does blink out, so it looks like he will survive. The gank's going to be a failure. They're reloading in.
Only just, though.
This is a ballsy play, but there's the hook shot. They're wrapping around with Aramis. They'll catch on the Tiny and bring him down. BCC trying to run away. The Primal Roar comes out, and Shad says, oh, goody. Summon a Munch on. They'll root him in place. The enrage, so Shad can chase forward further. But it looks like the rest might be out.
That's the problem. If Unique go in and they manage to not take down the Queen of Pain or the Beastmaster, then the counter initiation is just so good.
But the problem is they have to. Like, the way they have to play this game is if you don't apply pressure, you're going to have this Sven that is being out-farmed by an Ursa, and then you're also going to have this Beast that's constantly pressured. And when you get to these late-game fights, like, who has the mobility in fights? It really is Viking.
Yeah. Especially since you're going to be relying on the Sven Ags. And if you kind of move into the middle of this team, you're just going to get whacked down by an Ursa pretty quick, pretty sharpish. If you don't manage to take down the Queen of Pain, if you don't manage to take down the Beastmaster in the few seconds you have during your stun, there's a lot of counter-initiate on Viking here. So they really need to be using... You can look at the way that Viking GG are prioritizing their targets. They're immediately trying to kill the Tiny because they know Tiny's the main source of burst on Unique. And if they can just survive through their 5-man lineup, it's going to win fights.
I mean, not just burst, right? It's the lockdown as well. Like, we already highlighted this, that the Tiny has to have a great game because, I mean, who else is your reliable lockdown? Right, you can talk about how great Stormhammer's going to be, but there are ways to address it. Like, if you see him coming, you're going to reload someone out, or you can always set up cogs, or you can escape with these elusive heroes.
Well, they're going Blink on the Beastmaster. That's interesting. I guess that's just more counter-initiate.
Yeah, it's just...
They can be... Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to quickly point out, like, I think it's mainly the AA, right? Because, like, have you noticed something about every one of Unique's picks in the last few minutes? They're always
being
Ice
AA
Blast.
focused.
They're always Ice Blast. Like, Ice Blast gets them the kills. Without it, they usually walk away. I mean, Toby, look at this. They'll toss him across. And now the hook shot, the counter initiation, Prime Roar goes out. God's Strength, 19 team trying to chase him with the Storm Hammer. They push back, kill off the Tiny already. And they're trying to get rid of Toby. They might bring him down, but 19 team has to run away. The BKB is running out soon, and BZZ is going to be left behind. And once again, the Ice Blast is off the mark, then everything falls to crap for Unique.
It is so easy for the Ice Blast to be off the mark because Viking GG are staying really far apart from each other. That's what the Blink on the Beastmaster is, so they can be like 400, 2,000 units away from each other and then still initiate and be all together for the fight. Because they need to be clumped to make their fights work, but they don't want to be clumped because of the Ice Blast. So the amount of maneuverability they're building is really important.
That's a fair point, actually. Is like what you're getting at is the Viking also have better counter initiation, right? If you look at Unique, their ability to counter initiate is a bit weak.
They initiate and then they're like, oh, we've initiated now. What next?
Have we killed someone? Yes? Keep killing. No? Panic and run. Just run. And that part of the game isn't going to change, really, I don't think. It's always like all you're doing on the side of Unique is transitioning to the Sven show, right? Whereas Viking, in my opinion, have the ability to they transition to the Ursa and Quap show. This Quap will keep relevance in this game.
I think this Quap is going to be very good in the late game. Just
It's
the
also-
Orchid is really helpful.
Yeah, and it's also like this hero is inherently known to kind of transition, right? Because you can go for these items in turns you've got fierce right clicker.
And the level 25, if it does get to level 25, and I'm not sure it's going to, the Scream of Pain 2-second fear is really good. 1.2 second fear is really good.
It's one of the most
Just in this game.
Yeah, like I mean, I always rate it as a good talent, right? Like I rate it up there amongst the best 25s. You know, in this game, the comparative would actually be the other mid. The simulate stun is insane as well.
That is nuts. That is nuts.
I used to cringe when I'd watch people take Astral Step crit.
And
Even as
Timber's going down.
You could say he's going down. He's yelling Timber. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Move it away. They're going to try and jump the reload, and straight away they'll bring down the IO, but now Shad's going to have to be cutted out here. Will be able to use him up and get out safely, or will they? The silence comes out on the Lorinoff. They chase through with the Sonic Wave to get him low. They need one more tap, though. Nope.
No.
He's able to move away. Dissimulate down the low ground. Tries the TP away. Shad doesn't have the Earth Shot, but they do have the Primal Roar. You know what that is? That's one of those moments where you feel safe, and then somebody just yells at you, "Where are you going?"
Where do you think you're going, young man?
You're like, "Geez, where the hell did that come from?" But I think they will not push this, though. That clock pick was well found by Team Unique, realizing that Viking had overextended and stretched themselves a bit too thin.
Yeah, they're going to move back and farm up a bit. I think they feel pretty secure. They're 5k ahead. I think the Ursa's good in the late game here.
I think if you're Unique, you're kind of happy with the status quo, though. Like, this first Aegis has always kind of been infamous for not really doing much directly. Like, you don't... Say if you were to, like, whip out statistics and heat maps for, like, first Aegis, you would say maybe 1 or 2 tier 1s taken. You don't usually see much more than that. Possibly a tier 2. It's the second Aegis that kind of gets you up in the high ground and closes the game, right? But I feel like Viking haven't got to play as loosely as they maybe would have liked with this Aegis in hand.
It's well, they've used it effectively. They've taken 3 towers.
Oh, definitely.
That
But
top
I
lane
mean,
they've
like,
pretty
Unique
much ignored.
have found like opportunities to bite back.
They've
right?
found opportunities.
And
I don't think Unique are like terrified of the state of the game,
No.
but I think Viking are probably a little happier right now.
Yeah, they are aware of the creeping Ursa concern, especially now that he has the Abyssal. Like, this is going to get rough very fast because Lorinoff could get insta-burst. Hook shot. Net him on as well. 4-staff out. Aramis being tossed about. Boom jumps in with the BKB. Lorinoff forced to move away. The God's Strength has been activated by 19 team, and BZZ has turned into a high ground ward. Boom needs to blink away. Stormhammer chasing on Celery, trying to bring him down quickly, and they will be able to do so. So burst through the eye and burn him down. But BZZ goes down in return. Tiny's extremely low on HP. The buyback comes out from the eye in the meantime. In 19-teen, his BKB is running out. Shad, if he gets one bash, he will get a kill. Illusion, Avalanche to try and save the day, but the Enraged are able to move in. Sonic Wave through. And they say, what was that? You call that control, Tiny? No, no, no. This is what stuns look like. They'll chase him for more. Fan score stands his ground against Toby, but will die nonetheless.
I don't know if you were watching Tiny during that fight. He was having a very bad time. He was hanging out on the edge and he kept on going, oh, am I going in? He moved a little bit further, then he moved a little back, then he moved a little bit further, then he moved back, and then he just died.
Yeah.
He was a man wavering on the edge for quite a while.
I caught him right at the end where he just awkwardly avalanched like, I done it, guys! I saved my Sven! And Alyssa has him rage.
Oh, I'm dead. It's not helped.
I think that's just the rough part though. Like a lot of the time we're seeing these Tiny picks and there's so much emphasis on what that hero has to do. And it has proven in the past that it can. But like, those are usually rare examples. It's not the given that your Tiny is going to dominate the mid game. I think that's kind of what we're seeing here, is like Tiny can't dominate the mid game. Lorinov has no way of really being in the game right now. Like if he gets caught, he's dead every fight.
Well, that's what happened the last time he initiated, and then he got roared again immediately. And then it's like, oh, Ursa's taking down my back line. I'm all the way over here. It doesn't feel good.
Hook shot. Aramis trying to take out the front and the back at the same time. Silence. Abyss will jump in, and I think there was a AA there. I can't tell. It just looks like a pile of ice cubes. And they're just waiting for the next Roche. Like, they're going to secure this area. Like, this is now the play area. And if anything from Team Unique happens to go in there, it's going to be like watching a Rottweiler play with a chimpanzee.
What does that mean? I'm sorry. I don't understand your analogy there, Darren.
I mean, I can't help but feel that a chimpanzee, that they can be quite playful, would not enjoy rustling and tussling with a Rottweiler.
Chimpanzees are stacked, though. I don't know.
So are Rottweilers.
They are. They're all stacked. Shad's going further ahead here. He's godlike.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, actually. I could break this down for you. The chimpanzee is going to throw feces at the Rottweiler, which is kind of what this Timber's doing every time he shows himself. Like, hey! And then the Rottweiler's going to rip.
Pretty much.
I was going to go for, like, a kid, but that's way too graphical.
It's violent and horrible. And I think we should not talk about it.
Although then again, like, I don't think an animal dying is any less gruesome.
Lorinov
dying is part of the course, though.
And 19-teen is... I mean, he's out. He's fine. But they're looking increasingly desolate here, Team Unique.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's just a case of lineup or anything. I think Viking have played this really well. They know what they know the advantages and strengths of their lineup, and they just stick to it and play with it. It takes a good team to dismantle them.
I think one of the interesting things that always gets pointed out is like strategies and tactics. Right, like Viking is a team that is very good at strategies and are starting to develop their tactics very well. And what I'm highlighting, like what I mean by this is, like, for example, like tier 1 teams don't know how to pick strategies. They also know how to like apply tactics in the moments of the game. Whereas these 1.5/tier 2 teams, these teams that we see dominate the other people in the like tier, should we say, they're the ones that are good at strategy but haven't maybe figured out tactics yet. Like Unique is an example of that. I think they usually have a clear-cut plan of what they want to do, but their adjustment is lacking. This is a decent adjustment.
Yeah.
Picking off Celery straight away is good. However, the Abyss will jump in. Fuels. Very effective against the Ursa, but not for long. He jumps in, finds one. Sonic Wave. Nice jump across by 19-teen, but the Primal Roar should ensure that he dies. The disarm doesn't last long with a Shad, and they will kill off the Sven as well. Never up the Void Spirit. And BCC just wants the creep. He knows he needs to slow this push. Illusion jumps in straight away on a Shad, but he still has that Aegis, which is the problem. BKB gets activated, bash straight away on the BCC, and now they're going to chase forward, trying to end this one, and end his life. They'll run him down. They will be able to find the kill on the van score. BCC has to stand his ground. The disarm's out again on the Shad. They toss away Boom, and Rage gets activated, chases in, and Illusion is down. Dead. That's his dieback. Buyback comes out from A, but they lost the Timber as well. Lorinov has to walk away, and Vanscore's not sure what he bought back for. Lorinov, however, needs to be careful. He has no mobility for the moment. Toby is going to be hit up and stunned up. Nice blast will bring him low. Aramis does not have a hook shot for 2 more seconds, though, so Laurenoff might be baiting himself here. Hook shot in. Oh, just off the mark.
That looked like it hit.
That's the deception
That would
on
have
the
been a
side
good
of the
one.
map there.
That's good, though. A couple of buybacks from Unique. Good for Viking GG, I mean.
Yeah, you've given yourself 2 like win conditions. Well, I'd say like the AA being dead is annoying, but it's not like a definitive win condition. The Tiny, however, if you find him in the next fight, once again, what's Unique's control? Pretty sure his name is Tony, and if he's dead, they have none.
Something I want to bring up again about tactics versus strategy is one of the things that Soleri told me when I interviewed him this week was that they're used to scrim partners, Viking GG, by quite a lot of the big teams. They play a lot against OG, they play a lot against Secret, and they play a lot against Team Nigma. But because they're not the big teams and the teams respect them, but they don't see them as their biggest threat, and they see them as a team that it's fine to. I'll continue after this fight.
No, this turned from a minor skirmish into a very awkward bout, and it might be the one that cuts off the head of Unique. 19 being brought low, stun control out onto the Ursa, but he still has that Aegis. They haven't timed this at all. They need to get away. Sven is not in any state to fight. Aramis hook shot in, though, is going to ensure that he's definitely in no state as he goes into a grave, and the bash comes out to Laurenoff. The Spirit Vessel is on him, is going to bring him low. They need another tap if they want to kill him off, though. They're unable to find it as the overclock kicks into effect for Aramis. However, Ursa's still hunting. He has got the Abyssal. Illusion says, no, get the hell away from me. I don't want to be the dieback, but you will be. As he runs him down, turns onto BCZ next. No bash coming out. The root is going to chase towards the fountain. If he gets the bash, he'll find a kill. The BKB, they force the buyback out of the Sven. Sonic Wave is able to push him away. Now 19
That's a bad buyback.
Yep, that's going to be a bad dieback by the looks of it. They don't get the Cogs push back, but the control is good enough that Sven is dead. And that should be the game.
Should be the game.
Can take it 2-up.
Again, that's 43 minutes. That's a quick turnaround from what didn't look incredible early on. It's impressive.
I mean, it's...
I'll
go ahead.
I'll finish my thought from earlier that they play against these big teams like Nigma, Secret, and OG, but they're used as kind of like guinea pigs for new strategies. So OG will try out their crazy stuff on them, and Secret will try out new stuff on them, which I think's made them like a really resilient team because they know how to deal with strange strategies, they know how to deal with pretty much anything that's thrown at them, and then kind of retain their shape. And that's what we've seen from them in both of these games, that they've had a rough start and they've been pressured in an unusual way, but they've turned it around into making it their game and understanding how to win their fights and how their lineup is going to work against whatever pressure's put at it. And I think that's what they're doing really impressively at the moment.
That's a fair point, right? And it's also like you said, it's not that they don't take them seriously, they just don't see them as the biggest threat. And I think like that's something that tier 1 teams have, like, it's changed, right? It used to be you just didn't take people seriously, to now we'll use them for experimentation. I think back to OG when no one wanted to scrim against them in the build up to TI, right? And how they then just went on to dominate the competition because no one had a clue what they were doing. It's not a case that they don't know like what Viking are doing per se, but it's like Viking, because they're seen as the 1.5 team, shall we say, these teams take them seriously enough that they approach their scrims in a more determinate way, which allows Viking overall to improve. Because it's that old adage from chess, right? You can only get better by playing a better player. And that's something that usually tier 2, tier 1.5, tier 3 teams, these all struggle with, is finding an opportunity to play against the Secrets, the OGs, the EGs of the world.
Exactly. They're going to learn so much from all these different teams that they get to scrim. They're going to build so many new strategies from seeing OG's interesting stuff. They're going to learn how to develop and kind of maintain an identity, which I think they're doing an incredible job of. I think all their players deserve a huge amount of credit, and they've very convincingly won a 2-0 here, but I think a lot of credit also has to go to their coach, Immortal Faith, who I think has really kept them aligned and kept them kind of on track. Like, this could have been a stack that fell apart after 3 months, but they've stuck together and they've shown why sticking together and why believing in each other and learning and growing as a team is really, really important.
Yeah, and I think also the thing that's kind of amazing is that teams are respecting longevity more. I think like a big part of that I kind of highlight to Team Liquid's current roster, right? Like, those guys have been playing together so long, and you have seen this ramp up of improvement, right? So I think teams are also more willing to have the highs and the lows and kind of look at the the long-term gains as opposed to the short-term, right? Because like Viking, they burst in, they 2-0 secret in one of those ESLs to start off with, and then they had kind of like a down peak, right? You can imagine plenty of teams that would have just disbanded at that point or shuffled. But I love that they've stuck with it. Like you said, I love that they've had this coach always that they've been willing to listen to. And it's definitely starting to show. But we'll have to see if it can continue to show, because we're going to go to a short break. And when we return, we are going to have more Viking. They're going to be facing off against Hellraisers. So more EU versus CIS up next.